You mentioned Aaron Mate. I did want to ask, just because it's been such, a big Twitter feud over the last couple of weeks. Have you been following the feud between him and Jimmy Dore and the Young Turks?
Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of the life of Brian, with the Judean People's Front and the People's Front of Judea. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So, I just kind of wanted you, I guess, to weigh in a little bit, honestly. A lot of folks out there have kind of thought that the $20 million that Young Turks received back in 2017 has changed their worldview a lot, kind of in the context of this feud. A lot of old tweets and clips have emerged of Cenk Uygur being suspicious of the gas attacks and even defending Jimmy Dore when Jimmy Dore was attacked by CNN for being skeptical.
What they're referring to about the Syrian chemical attacks, Rand Paul went on television, said almost the same exact thing Jimmy did, which is don't just trust the Pentagon. Let's verify to see if that attack actually came from the sources that the Pentagon says that it came from. That's what any responsible citizen should do. By the way, that's what a journalist should do. But CNN, on the other hand, goes, the Pentagon said it, so it must be true. I took down the note from the spokesman from the Pentagon. That's why CNN needs to partner with people like PolitiFact to check facts for them, because they're not real journalists. If you were a real journalist, you would actually have your own organization to check facts, and you would have checked the fact about Jimmy Dore, which you didn't. Instead, you did false equivalency. It's another reason why this article is absolutely trash.
And seemingly right around the time that he received that money, everything changed, and now Cenk is, in a single tweet going after Aaron Mate, Jimmy Dore, Max Blumenthal, and Glenn Greenwald. Jimmy Dore along with these 3 award-winning journalists. So do you think that maybe money is a factor, or do you think it maybe just goes into this larger trend that we're seeing of progressive media kind of falling in line with imperialist talking points?
So I was in a movie about I.F. Stone called All Governments Lie, and so was Cenk. And there's an interesting, it's essentially about independent media and its role. And there's a scene in there where Cenk is talking about the early experiences of the Young Turks. They had, in 2008, they had gotten a lot of their audience from young, enthusiastic followers of Barack Obama. And when they transitioned to covering the Obama presidency, they were faced with kind of a financial conundrum, which was, well, if we start reporting negatively about Obama and about, for instance, his response to the 2008 crisis, we're going to lose audience. And this is the dilemma of anybody who is in independent journalism. If you follow your reporting, you will eventually be put into a position where you might have to choose between making money and saying what you actually think. And that is a very difficult place to be. Now, at the time, I think he made the right choice, and he did the reporting that I think was true about the Obama administration. They were critical of him. They took a hit, audience-wise. But it's tough to make that decision over and over and over and over again over a long period of time. And things can get complicated, particularly, when you're taking, abuse in a Twitter beef or whatever it is. But, I don't know what's gone on with the Young Turks. I disagree with them about a lot of things lately. I definitely disagreed with Cenk about the Russia story. But is that something that that he genuinely believes, genuinely feels, or sometimes because you're in a place commercially and you're reporting something that works for you financially, you might start to believe it over time, especially when you're getting lots of praise and feedback from your audience, and that they're telling you that this is what they want. That kind of stuff can be really difficult to sort out. So I'm trying not to be judgmental about it. I disagree with them about a lot of things lately. I think there was a significant portion of the media during the Trump years that fell into this pattern of in opposition to Donald Trump, anything is justified, and we have to go the extra mile to make sure that we're on the right side. Whereas, for me, like a traditional journalist, I don't think in terms of sides. I think in terms of, what's true and what isn't. Other people think in a different way. Again, I try not to judge about that stuff too much, though.
Do you think that dynamic has a potential to change? And I ask that because TYT's viewership over the last several months has been going down, and in this feud, they seemed to really be unable to get most of the people on Twitter on their side, and the live streams that TYT is doing lately is getting only a few hundred people watching, whereas Jimmy Dores is getting 10,000 people. So do you think that people honestly have maybe a distaste for that kind of propaganda and may be more prone to switch over to independent, free-thinking type creators?
Well, I don't think it's a place you want to be. Like if you want to be seen as the representative of the grown-up political establishment, which is the tack that say people at CNN have taken. Well, they can take that. They're CNN, or MSNBC can take that. They're NBC. I mean, they have a lot of institutional tools at their disposal to make sure that their audience stays at least a certain level. But for independent media, it's very dangerous, even to be fallen in the place where you're perceived as being a defender of the establishment, right? So, without speaking to whether that's actually what's going on here, if you end up in a fight with somebody who's accusing you of being a sellout for the establishment, that's not a particularly winning proposition for an organization like the Young Turks to be in. That's just my opinion. But again, how difficult it is for them to avoid that, I have no idea. But business-wise, that's a tough place to be, probably for them.
And it seems as though the way that they try to fight against that, whether it be establishment corporate media or in this case specifically with the Young Turks, is to try to make people to the left of them seem as though they're on the right. So we had Cenk saying that repeatedly about Jimmy Dores secretly a conservative, and also trying to associate Glenn Greenwald and Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate with Bashar al-Assad and Vladimir Putin, which again is something that the corporate media will do to anybody on the left, even to Bernie Sanders, suggesting that he's associated with Vladimir Putin. So I don't know, just what do you think about that line of attack at all? Because that just seems like a severe doublethink where anybody to the left of me is actually on the right.
Well, so I get that all the time, and it drives me crazy. It's dishonest. It's McCarthyism, frankly. I mean, without being too dramatic about it, this has been what's happened within kind of the blue state media for the last 5 years. Anything that goes against narrative on that side of the aisle now, in media terms, instantly evokes accusations of being right wing or an enabler of the right wing. I mean, right now there's a headline about me and Glenn Greenwald in Current Affairs where Nathan Robinson, who, if you held a knife to a child's throat and demanded it, couldn't write an article shorter than 8,500 words. But he's got this gigantic screed accusing Glenn and me of being tools of the right, even though there aren't any actual examples of us taking right-wing positions on anything, but the implication of these comments is that by taking a position that is not ours, you are aligning yourself with the evil forces of the right, and therefore you're to be attacked, you're to be shunned, you're to be kicked out of the club, and and that's a dangerous, again, what's so insidious about that is that, the end game of that kind of rhetoric is often getting people fired or getting them separated from their sources of income, or worse, right? Or getting them removed from the internet in some cases. These days, to be accused of that is essentially to be accused of hate speech, conspiracy theory, incitement, insurrectionism, and it's an incredibly disingenuous and I think just irresponsible way of dealing with criticism. If you're being criticized, argue the issues with people. Don't come back with that kind of a tactic. It's been very frustrating for me, both on the Russia story, but particularly on the censorship story, where what I've been trying to say for years now is censorship is not a solution that should be embraced by people on the left or people who are traditionally liberal, even if you think in the short term it's going to help combat, for instance, the Trump movement. Eventually it will back up on all of us, and it's not a traditionally liberal position, but for saying that, I've been constantly denounced as a right winger, right? Because there's this whole idea that free speech is a stalking horse for the right now, and again, it's a dishonest tactic. It's designed to kind of end conversation and debate, and get people to respond emotionally. And I think when I saw that Cenk had done that, that was something that I very seriously disagreed with.